Hello and welcome. Tonight, bandits strike in Kaduna and Zamfara states, killing aides of Emir of Kaura Namoda and 7 others in Zangon Kataf. Intensify efforts, fish out the bandits and those terrorizing innocent Nigerians, and that's President Muhammadu Buhari's charge to security agencies as he meets rescued Kankara students. Nigerian Army insists troops of Operation Hadarin Daji rescued abducted students of Government Science Secondary School Kankara, contrary to claims by the state government of a negotiation with the bandits. And U.S. Vice President Mike Pence receives coronavirus vaccine live on television to build confidence among American people. Plus, we'll have business, sports, and later on international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, FG orders removal of 20 naira retrieval charge on national identity numbers imposed on subscribers across all telecom network providers.
On sports news tonight, Minister of Youth and Sports Development confirms the 2020-21 Nigeria Professional Football League will begin on December the 27th.
We begin tonight from Kaduna State, where at least 7 people, including a 6-year-old boy, have been killed by bandits in Zangon Kataf, local government area of Kaduna State. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says the gunmen burnt down 13 houses and 2 shops belonging to the residents on Thursday night. He explains that troops of Operation Safe Haven were able to repel the attack and stabilized the area, and thereafter recovered 7 bodies while 1 person was injured. Meanwhile, Governor Nasir El-Rufai has condemned the killing of innocent citizens, describing it as barbaric and inhuman. Meanwhile, a similar attack also happened in Zamfara State, where the convoy of the Emir of Kaura Namoda, Sanusi Muhammad Asha, was attacked by suspected bandits along Zaria Funtua Road. 3 policemen and 5 other persons were killed during the incident, which reportedly happened last night, while the traditional ruler was on his way from Abuja to his base in Zamfara State. The armed men attacked a vehicle in the Emir's convoy, killed the driver, 3 policemen, a senior guard to the monarch, and 1 Dan Amal, who was an uncle to the Emir. The traditional ruler recounts his ordeal.
It's an unfortunate thing that happened because I was looking at it like I'm watching film. Because when we came, we are seeing the next village, and those people are looking at us while these bandits are lying down waiting for those people that are passing. So that's why I say unfortunate. And another thing, when I say destiny, that when I was going, among my boys that I went with, one of them was not even among the people that I went. But we made a call that he said, okay, he's going to meet me in Zaria. And he met me in Zaria. And now we moved with him on his own. While the other one that went together, he fell sick when we were about to come back. And because of that, I now have to leave him there. That's okay, wait till the next day when you're okay, you come back, you are not in a hurry. So you can imagine how destiny is. Because that one survived, he falls sick. This one, he was not part of us, and he followed us, and he belonged to them. So it's unfortunate.
Meanwhile, the Zamfara state government says it has launched an investigation into the attack on the Emir's convoy.
On behalf of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Zamfara State, condole the Emir of Kaura Namoda, the Commissioner of Police, and the Inspector General of Police for the loss of lives in this very criminal incident that happened yesterday. Investigation on the attack is going on, so it's premature to attribute it to any particular plan. Yes, so but investigation is going on. By the time the law enforcement agents finish the investigation on the issue, where government will express its position.
The military is insisting that troops of Operation Hadarin Daji rescued all the Kankara boys who were abducted by bandits. A statement from the coordinator of the Defense Media Operation, Major General Jan Eneche, says the students were rescued following credible intelligence by troops with a high degree of professionalism to ensure they were all rescued alive. Major General Eneche's statement is corroborated by the Commandant of the 7th Division, Major General Wara Idris.
We are here this morning to formally hand over the 344 students of government school Kankara that were rescued from the bandits yesterday night. The students have been taken to Gusau, where they were adequately taken care of. They slept through the night at Gusau, and today, glory be to the Almighty God, we are here with them to formally hand over the students to the state for subsequent handing over to their parents.
And staying with the rescue of the Kankara school students, the President has directed the service chiefs to identify and intensify efforts towards identifying and prosecuting criminal elements across the country. President Muhammadu Buhari gave the directive today when he addressed the rescued schoolboys at the government house in Katsina. President Buhari also commended Governor Aminu Mazari for the way he handled the events leading to the eventual release of the boys. Our correspondent Idris Jibrin reports.
Students of the Government Science Secondary School Kankara arrive in the Katsina State Government House a day after their release from captivity. Governor Aminu Masari was on hand to receive the 344 boys, relieved that the anxiety generated by their abduction in the state and throughout the country is finally over.
I use this opportunity to praise and thank the efforts made by the entire security apparatus of the state, of the country, for what they did, the professionalism that was shown and demonstrated during the efforts that culminated in the release of these 344 students of Kankara Government Science Secondary School.
Within a few hours, the president, who has been in Daura even before the boys were abducted, made his way to the state government house to meet with the boys. He asked them to put the experience of the past few days behind them and focus their attention on equipping themselves for the boundless opportunities in the world of science and technology.
You children are very lucky. I hope you will be very careful because you're in a science school. Your success in future depends not on subjects like history or English, but technology, because those are the category of people that are likely to stand a better chance of being employed in future.
The president also had a word for the security agencies.
I hope all security agencies will do their job with the fear of God. They should fish out those bandits and bring them to justice, because that's their job, whether they like it or not.
For those wondering if the government paid any ransom to secure the release of the boys, the State Commissioner for Education says there is no such thing. He goes on to say that school activities will resume as soon as the Christmas break is over.
Obviously, the term has come to an end. Christmas is coming. The third term is closed, not only in Katsina State, in other sister states in the Federation. And we'll look at the school calendar and then follow accordingly. If other states open school by January, obviously Katsina State will look at that and then comply.
Some of the parents of these boys have arrived Katsina town to unite with their children, while others will have to wait until after they have received the necessary medical checkup and are returned to Kankara, their base. Idris Jubrin, Channels Television News.
Well, Idris Jubrin joins us now. Hey, Idris. Great. Now, since they met with the president, we saw that in your report. What was the boys' reaction to that meeting? Many of them still looked shocked, shocked by what they've gone through. What was the reaction afterwards?
Indeed, actually, the boys, some of them are still traumatized with what they have gone through. And in terms of their reaction, seeing the president, most of them, they are actually very happy because they never thought they would see the president. The president will be on ground to receive them. In fact, there is one of the boy that was asking me, what's the time now? I told him the time. I said, are you eager to go home? He said, actually, he wants to go home. I said, have you ever seen the president? He said, no. I said, then wait, you will see the president today. So most of them, they were very happy of seeing the president. And then at the same time, they are also traumatized for on the situation they have gone through within the last 7 days.
Okay, Idris, clear something up for us. Were the boys rescued or were they released? Because, we have some media reporting that they were rescued. The official statements coming out are saying they were released. Which is it? What are you hearing?
Well, going by what Brigadier General Wara Idris, the Commandant 7th Division, told the governor that the successful rescue operation was as a result of a combined effort by other security forces, and that the boys were rescued at a location in the neighboring Zamfara states where the abductors hide them. So if we go by this statement from the Brigadier General, we can say that is a rescue operation because he was the one who actually told the governor this, that it was the rescue operation was successful and it was done in a neighboring Zamfara state. So we can say they were successfully rescued.
All right, and finally now, just how soon do you think they'll be reunited with their parents? I know you spoke to one of the boys who said he wants to just go home. How soon do you think that would be from what you're hearing? Quickly, Idris.
Well, like what the state governor said, the children will be checked up. They have to undergo some medical checkup, and that the register has already been taken, and that the state government will not give anybody any child until they are absolutely sure that such person is the parent or the guardians of the child. So I think from tomorrow, any child that was certified medically fit, they will start reuniting them with their parents. This is according to the state governor, that they will not waste much time. As soon as they are certified that the boys are physically fit to go home, then they will just reunite them with their parents. So that may start happening from tomorrow, I presume.
All right, thanks a lot for that one, Idris. Stick with it and do let us know more when you have it. Our correspondent there in Katsina City tonight, Idris Jibrin. And in part two, after the break, bandits strike in Kaduna and Zamfara states, killing aides of Emir of Kaura Namoda and 7 others in Zango Kataf. That's in a moment. You join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Bandits strike in Kaduna and Zamfara states, killing aides of Emir of Kaura Namoda and 7 others in Zango Kataf. Intensify efforts, fish out the bandits and those terrorizing innocent Nigerians. That's President Muhammadu Buhari's charge to security agencies as he meets rescued Kankara students. Nigerian Army insists troops of Operation Hadarin Daji rescued and abducted students of Government Science Secondary School Kankara, contrary to claims by the state government of a negotiation with bandits. And U.S. Vice President Mike Pence receives coronavirus vaccine live on television to build confidence among American people. It seems the federal government has more plans for the rescued boys, as the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says they'll undergo medical tests before they are released to their parents. He insists that the boys were abducted by bandits, as he restates that Boko Haram has been weakened and is only seeking relevance. The minister, who maintains that the boys were released unconditionally, explains that although no government is immune to terrorist attacks, the government will do everything to prevent a recurrence.
We are monitoring the location and the movements of the insurgents. So it was a case that they had no choice than to surrender. Pure and simple. Now, as to the issue of Boko Haram was seeking relevance. The Boko Haram sent out videos to give the impression that they were in charge, that they did the kidnapping. Absolutely not true. Negotiation does not necessarily mean there will be money. There are a lot of back channel negotiations that take place in this kind of situation anywhere in the world. There was no money that changed hands. They were released unconditionally.
Meanwhile, the main opposition People's Democratic Party is not accepting all the explanations by the government over the rescue of the boys, as it insists that the revelations trailing the abduction and the release of the boys have further exposed the ruling APC as a party in league with bandits, insurgents and terrorists. The PDP alleges in a statement that such revelations further explain why the APC has been acting as the mouthpiece of bandits, rationalizing killings and kidnappings, showing and expressing sympathy to terrorists, and refusing to condemn acts of terrorism, but attacking any person or groups that dare to criticize the activities of bandits or demand unconditional release of abductees. The party says it's worrisome that the current government under the APC can no longer battle bandits and insurgents and now has to rely on groups coordinated by APC leaders to negotiate and pay ransom to assailants. The statement reads in part, "Indeed, Thursday's statement by the Governor Mai Mala Buni leadership of the APC, in which it showed support to bandits by condemning genuine protests by Nigerian women and youth in Abuja, has further betrayed the APC as a party that has vested interest in the proceeds of these reprehensible enterprises." The PDP also asked Nigerians to hold the APC responsible for the escalated acts of banditry, kidnapping and terrorism ravaging the nation. And the former Minister of Education and co-convener of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, is also not comfortable with the narrative on the rescue of the Kankara schoolboys, as she believes the government is only using the situation to shore up its image. One of her concerns is why the military has not been able to rescue the remaining Chibok secondary school girls abducted by Boko Haram insurgents since 2014, like they rescued the Kankara boys.
They said that there is a military outpost some 60 kilometers away from that school. How can this kind of a thing happen to those children in a state that's vulnerable to terrorist incursion? And there is nothing. Those kids were just there on their own, lying down there waiting to be carried. And how do you carry them? And for the length of time that you supposedly said they were taken, and nothing happened until you now reported they were taken. And by the way, remember that the same presidency said to us, oh no, only 10 children are missing. What are we supposed to believe? There's something wrong. Something is really wrong. And I mean, if people don't want to say it, oh, trust me, I will say it. Because it really has never mattered to me who is in office. The issue of governance is important. And we must be, totally clear in our minds that when it is not being done well, our voices must speak up. What is wrong with us as citizens? Why do we find comfort in pretending that a lie is true and that truth is lie? I'm not going to be part of it. I'm sorry.
Well,
the government has to explain to us what happened on the Kankara matter. They must tell us what happened. They haven't told us. There is too much murkiness around this. There's a lot of monkey business that they need to explain to us. Is this government trying to shore up its credibility by pretending that an abduction happened and then they got the children back? This would be too, heinous a thing to do to young children.
Dr. Obi Ezekwesili was speaking on our program, Politics Today, a couple of hours ago. Now, let's get more insight into all of this. I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the former Commander, Intelligence Brigade, Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Jejelola Karim. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10. And there's quite a bit of joy on one hand, but contradictions on the other. What do you make of them, hearing what you've heard just now from various people commenting on this?
Well, a point of observation, I want to say I'm retired. I'm still not serving. I've just retired from the Nigerian Army as a former intelligence brigade commander. Well, I think the most important thing about the operation is that of the rescue of the pupils. The uppermost consideration should be the rescue of the boys in a safe and healthy condition, rather than all these rhetorics about who did what and how were they rescued. Of course, in a situation like this, there will always be negotiation. But I think the federal government deserves to be commended for swift rescue of these boys. Quite unlike in the previous incidents, this is about the first time that we see that we have a rescue of abducted pupils in a record of time. This, I think, is commendable. But notwithstanding this, we should know that what were the terms of the release of these boys. I think, and I hope, it is not such that could further compromise security for the abduction, further abduction of school pupils. And one thing we should realize is that now we have realized that schools have become targets of these terrorists. There ought to be proper arrangement to secure schools.
One of the reasons that I asked the question earlier is what you've just said now, the terms of the release, whether they went in and rescued them or, whether a negotiation happened. And that's part of what you're saying now. That's why the issue is on the ground in so many people's minds.
Yes, there are so many ways of tackling a problem. There could be military option. There could be diplomatic option, which could involve negotiation. And in negotiation, it is a question of compromise, give and take. In similar situations, all over the world, it is done. And Israel would not mind trading so many other things, like maybe 20 people for just one single soul. Because it is the image of the country that matters. Kidnap of a single person can lead to legitimacy crisis for any government. And I want to tell you that any government will want to do anything possible within its power to ensure that that captured person is released.
You talked about schools becoming a target, and obviously many parents are watching us tonight, those in that area and elsewhere. With schools resuming after Christmas, from what we're hearing, what do you think they should put in place in areas like that? Because most times you hear that, perhaps there's no perimeter fence, it isn't a school with a defined building in that kind of sense. What should we hope to see,
Yeah, like I've just told you, what we need to do is to reinforce security among many of those schools. When you want to reinforce security within those schools, you need manpower. In a local government, how many schools do you have there? How many security personnel do you need to guard or provide security in each of these schools? Now, We are talking of a place that is outside the Northeast where we have the main insurgency. We are talking of other states now. We are talking of Katsina. We have Zamfara. We have other places. So how many personnel do you want to deploy in each of these schools? That is where you will know that there is a problem. Now, any country must always ensure that its military is such in terms of numerical strength and weapon inventory is such that is within, that can contain any threat assessment of that country. If you're a country of 100 million, 200 million, then your strength, the manpower of your military should be able to contain the threat that is in contemplation. Because as a nation, you must always assess the threat, the danger at any point in time to your own national interest. And the military is one of the elements of national power. So it must always be factored in when you determine the size of your army, size of your navy, the size of your air force, and your military acquisitions. All these things, all these variables must always be weighed in.
All right. Thank you so much, former Commander, Intelligence Brigade of the Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Judicial Karim. Thanks for sharing that with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
And when the news at 10 returns, federal government orders removal of 20 naira retrieval charge on national identification numbers imposed on subscribers across all telecom network providers. That's on Business News. Please join us again. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has directed that all government and private schools in the state be shut down until further notice. This forms part of the Public Health Directive issued by the governor today as the state government prepares for a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. He also directed all public servants from grade level 14 and below, except emergency workers and first responders, to work from home for the next 14 days, starting from Monday next week. The governor, who tested positive for COVID-19 recently, and stressed that concerts, carnivals and street parties have been banned in Lagos until further notice. The governor adds that nightclubs have not been allowed to open yet, and all nightclubs in the state should be shut down indefinitely with immediate effect. Seven new petitions were brought up today as hearing continues at the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry and Restitution for victims of SARS and other related abuses. One of the petitioners, Mrs. Olamide Folami, told the panel that her husband, a police officer, was shot dead during the protest by one of his colleagues in the Surulere area of Lagos on October the 12th, 2020. But counsel to the police spotted contradictions in the petitioner's verbal presentation and her earlier written statement.
9 petitions of different status made the list of petitions as the Lagos State Judicial Panel on SARS-related abuses resumed sitting. The first case, Okiliagu versus a Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS, is for the adoption of addresses from the petitioner and the counsel to the Nigerian police force.
There's a letter from Bennett counsel for the petitioner stating that is before the Court of Appeal in a matter this morning, and it seeks an adjournment to the 8th of January 2021.
The case that takes most time of the day is between late Inspector Ayodeji Bankole and the Nigerian police force. The petitioner and wife of the deceased, Olamide Folami, explained how she received the news of her husband's death, who was shot allegedly by his colleagues in an attempt to quell SARS protests in Surulere on October 12, 2020.
That Auntie Ola, did you hear what happened? And I said, what happened? That my husband has been shot during SARS at Surulere. How did it happen? He said he did not know, but he saw it on social media.
You want this petition to be signed?
The petitioner also presents video evidence to buttress her claims.
What do you want this panel to do for you?
I need the justice. I want justice to be prevailed. I want them to investigate what's caused the death of my husband. And he has HPS. His family has to be compensated.
However, during cross-examination, the counsel to the police cites contradictions between the petitioner's verbal presentation and her earlier written statement.
So will it surprise you if I tell you that it is the protesters that shot your husband?
You can prove it to me.
At the end of the examination and cross-examination, the police counsel asked that the case be adjourned to enable him bring in those mentioned in the petition and witnesses.
So what fun will be with that? Policemen killing your husband?
Further hearing in the petition is hereby adjourned to 15th January 2021.
As accomplices.
Besides the adjournment of a further hearing on Undukwe Ekwekwe versus FSARS, 6 other petitions for mention were adjourned to another date over the absence of petitioners. Those mentioned in the petitions, and some cases to allow the council prepare their presentation.
Property worth millions of naira have been destroyed by a raging fire in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The fire, which began at noon, affected businesses, shops and private residences around the GRA area. Eyewitnesses say a tanker laden with petrol was trying to avoid traffic when it lost control and spilled its content into a ditch. The fire raged for several hours before it was put out by fire servicemen. Some business news now. Here's Teniola Shobowale.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma. Welcome to Business News. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Mr. Issa Pantami, has directed the Nigeria Communications Commission and National Identity Management Commission to remove the 20 naira charge imposed on subscribers for national identity number retrieval request. In a statement released today, Mr. Pantami explained that the order, which takes effect immediately, is aimed at making the verification process easy and affordable. The minister's directive come a few days after the federal government ordered telecommunication providers to integrate the national identification numbers with subscribers' SIM numbers for security purposes. Let's check in on the stock market now. In just 5 days this week, the local equities market has gained 1.33 trillion naira as total value of listed equities crosses the 19 trillion naira mark at the close of today's trading session. Layo Adegoke has the details.
Thank you for joining us for the stock market report. The bullish sentiment seen at the start of the week were sustained today as buying interest in market heavyweights Dangote Cement and MTN Nigeria buoyed a 5th consecutive gain in the market. At the sound of the closing gong, the all-share index jumped 1.56%, with the equity capitalization crossing the 19 trillion naira level. Take a look at the sectoral chart. All the counters we track posted gains. The 4.75% gain on Dangote Cement pushed the industrial goods counter by 2.5%. Investors continue to position themselves ahead of dividend payouts, and so we're likely to see these gains continue. There was a higher turnover of volume, value and deals traded today compared to Thursday's session. The trio of Niger Insurance, GT Bank and AXA Maxed were the most traded stocks. While analysts expect this bull run to continue till the end of the year, it is also expected that there will be a mix of bargain hunting and profit taking. So investors are advised to take position in fundamentally justified stocks. And that's the stock market report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
And that's Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Tenyo Lala. Let's bring you up to speed with our lead story, talking about the return of the Kankara boys. We now have a first-hand account of two of the boys that were abducted. They spoke with our correspondent, Idris Jibrin, and let's just listen.
Really, we suffer in the bush. In part of hungry in the bush, and our mattress and our whole environment in the bush.
Have you been eating?
Yes, sometimes we eat. We take 2 days before we eat in the bush.
What do they normally give you?
Dankali.
Dankali, that's Irish.
Cassava. I am not well. I am sick.
You are not feeling fine?
Yes, I am not feeling fine.
At the time we are there, at the weather of that place, it is cold, and the food we are taking, it is just bread and granite cake. They are giving us an cassava, so that is only the food they are giving us. And if it is in the night, we can't. The place we are sleeping is the place we are defecating and excreting. And even if you can't sleep, if you wake up, you say you are going to eat yourself or you are going to defecate, they will discuss you about that. They will beat you and say, just go back and sleep.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and his wife, Lady Karen, received the coronavirus vaccine live on television. The White House says the aim of the move was to promote the safety and efficacy of the vaccine and build confidence among the American people. Let's head over to our London studio now, where Simon Pusey has more on Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US Energy Department has confirmed it has been breached in what is being described as the worst ever hack on the US government. The department is responsible for managing US nuclear weapons, but said the arsenal's security had not been compromised. Tech giant Microsoft also said on Thursday that it had found malicious software in its systems. Many suspect the Russian government is responsible, which denied any role. The US Treasury and Commerce departments are among the other targets of the sophisticated months-long breach, which was first acknowledged by officials on Sunday. Members of the Spanish royal family have unveiled a monument to honour health workers who have died from COVID-19 in the capital, Madrid. Spanish King Felipe, Queen Letizia and the health minister attended the event to inaugurate the Tree of Life. The ceremony paid tribute to honour the more than 100 deceased health workers. A report published by Amnesty International showed that more than 7,000 health professionals have died from COVID-19 worldwide. Spain's vaccination campaign against the coronavirus will begin on December 27th. The number of civilians forced from their homes by conflict in northern Mozambique has quadrupled this year to 420,000. That's according to the United Nations. It links the crisis in Cabo Delgado province not just to attacks by Islamist militants, but also to a perceived failure to distribute vast mineral and offshore gas revenues to the local population. A senior UN refugee agency official visiting Cabo Delgado described the situation there as really dire and urged Mozambique's neighbours and the wider international community to intervene in what she said had been for too long an invisible crisis. Supporters of Indonesian cleric Rizik Syihab have clashed with police during a demonstration in the capital Jakarta after demanding their spiritual figurehead be released from detention. Several hundred protesters had gathered in the capital, with scuffles breaking out after police told the group large gatherings were prohibited amid the pandemic. Police deployed thousands on the streets of Jakarta on Friday to guard the protest, with a new requirement for people to present a negative rapid COVID-19 test to enter the capital. The controversial leader of the Islamic Defenders Front was arrested last weekend for allegedly violating coronavirus protocols. Rescue workers in Japan are trying to free more than 1,000 vehicles which have been stranded on a highway for 2 days after a heavy snowstorm. Authorities have distributed food, fuel and blankets to the drivers on the Kanetsu Expressway in the north of the country. The snow, which began on Wednesday evening, has caused multiple traffic jams along the road. It has also left more than 10,000 homes in the north and west without power. And finally, despite the first major snowstorm in New York in years, the show must go on for Times Square's so-called naked cowboy.
Well, I'm the naked cowboy, keeping it real for you. Yeah.
Performing in his signature underwear, briefs and a guitar, John Burke entertained drivers and tourists alike as the snow continued to fall around him. Mr. Burke used the occasion to poke fun at global warming deniers, saying that they must be right, as that was the biggest snowstorm he had seen in a very long time.
Just kidding.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, claims that the 2020-21 Nigeria Professional Football League season will start on December the 27th. Mr. Dare revealed this at a news briefing in Lagos and explains that the delay in starting the top flight league was caused by the club licensing regulations and financial controls set by the Nigeria Football Federation.
We have gone to the issue of licensing and financial regulation, and we have insisted that the professional league, male and female, will not start until the clubs are made to fulfill these regulations. Go and check the FIFA status. It's there, clearly stated. Check the NFL status, clearly stated. What have we found? In the past 2-3 years, it has been flouted completely.
The Karate Federation of Nigeria, the KFN, has announced that it will organize more competitions to ensure the sport gets to the grassroots. At its annual general meeting held in Abuja, the Karate Federation says it has secured approvals for the Goodluck Jonathan West African Championships, which is scheduled to hold next year. The 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar has inaugurated its latest stadium for the Mondial with a half-capacity 20,000-strong crowd who had all tested for the coronavirus or antibodies beforehand, but social distancing was minimal. Now, the launch of the Al Rayyan venue, 24 kilometers west of the capital Doha, marks one of the largest sports gatherings anywhere in the world since the start of the pandemic. That sports news is back to you, Joma.
Thanks, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Armed bandits again struck in Kaduna and Zamfara states, killing aides of Emir of Kaura Namoda and 7 others in Zango Kataf. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari asked security agencies to intensify efforts to fish out the abductors of the Kankara students, bandits, and all those terrorizing innocent Nigerians. He gave the directive after he met with the rescued Kankara students. And a co-convener of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, today criticized the narrative by the government on the abduction of the boys. This is as the president's media aide, Garba Shehu, apologized to Nigerians for saying that only 10 students were kidnapped at the school in Kankara. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. To have a great weekend, but stay safe while you try to do that. Good night.